Hello there. Tonight I want to talk about aging. And I'm Jack, by the way. So, the reason why I forgot to do that in the right order is because I'm aging, which is always happening. But what is aging? Other than forgetting things. That's what a lot of us see as aging. We forget things. We also get achy. Our joints get achy. Our muscles get soft. Our skin gets wrinkly, droopy. But what's the energy behind that? Let's dig a little bit into aging, because most of the time I work at this gym, and obviously there are many different ages: kids, middle age, elderly. And obviously a common theme with the elderly is, I used to be able to do that. I can't do that today. It just doesn't work the same way. But as soon as we say it's just that way, we cut ourselves off from really understanding what that is. And so I've been curious about what is aging, so I've been looking at it. And I've been realizing that it's really quite simple. And it's not so fixed either. So that's a very important part to this. It's not fixed like how we see it. Because we have a particular progressive model, or a linear model, I guess you could say, that looks like a bell curve. So we are born into this existence, and then we accelerate up into expansion and growth. We kind of flatline a little bit, and then we fizzle right back out after retirement and just quickly die. Sounds pretty depressing, right? I know. I feel the same way. So that's why I want to understand it, so that aging isn't quite the same. Because if I just look at that model and what everyone else has done, and I want to conform to that model, I will live that model. And that will happen to me. But if I don't conform to that model, that won't happen to me. Unless I want it to happen to me. Because there are older bodybuilders. I'm talking like 75, 80 years old. More ripped than I am. And they started when they were 70, something like that, 65. So they started when most people retire, and they got ripped more than most 20-year-olds or even teenagers, lifting weights that are already shredded. And these elderly folk that are supposed to be dying put on muscle and shredded the fat off, which it's hard for people to do both of those. So after interviewing with them, not me personally, but seeing the interview, they were asked, how did you do this? And they all have a common theme, common response. I just didn't let other people get me down by making me feel like I was an old person. So essentially what they're saying is, they felt like it was possible. They had the will to go do that. And that's the simplest answer. That's why children don't age nearly as fast, because they have the will and curiosity to keep moving. So when they fall down and bump their knee, there's also another thing with that. But when they fall down, and I'll get into that, when they fall down and they bump their knee, they quickly move on to that. And so they're essentially releasing the pain much faster than adults. And I'm not saying... So it does get harder to release that as we get older. And there's a particular reason, it ties in with consciousness. But that's the main difference between children and adults. Children experience pain, so if children fall down, we get back up because we have something to do. Everything seems new to us as children. And so we can't let those things hold us back. My roommate just a few years ago, we were talking about colds and all that, and this was when I started seeing that, colds last as long as I want them to last. And he said, yeah, I feel the same way. He doesn't even do this whole spiritual introspection. I mean, he questions things, but he doesn't get heavy into it. But that's totally fine. Or at least whenever we do, when we talk about it, he doesn't. But so people know this. I mean, even without knowing the words. And he was just like, yeah, colds, screw that. I don't have time for that. And I just smiled, and I was like, that's why he doesn't get colds. He doesn't get colds because he doesn't care about holding on to that, and he doesn't care about attaching himself to that pain, whatever that pain is, and saying it has to take a week to get over it, and I need antibiotics and all this other stuff. He just says, I just don't have time for it because he has stuff to do. Same with kids. Kids just don't have the time. And mainly because it seems like their consciousness is in shorter blocks, shorter time spans. So when they get hurt, they're already moving on to the next phase. But as we grow older, our attention spans can get longer, hopefully with most adults. So it can get bigger, and we can see more of a process. Like a day for a kid could feel like a month to an adult, in reality. So adults see things a year ahead of time. We're already planning for tax returns for next year, maybe a 5-year plan. We're constantly planning ahead, planning for retirement. So that's how far down the road we're looking. And so if we're trying to stretch our consciousness that way, and we bump our knee, we can attach ourselves to that pain and hold on to it much longer because we see a bigger picture. So that's why it's harder for us to heal ourselves, unlike children. Children seem to be able to release that mainly because they're only looking 5 minutes ahead of time. I mean, not all the time, but generally speaking throughout the day, yeah, they're not looking that far ahead. And so if they want to go do something, if they want to go outside, go swimming, they can't say I have a bum knee because swimming is so new to them. It feels so new that they're like, I don't care. And then what do you know? It heals. They don't have that pain anymore. They don't have that injury. It's not like that for all injuries, of course, broken bones and whatnot, torn muscles, but the recovery time is much faster. The healing process is much, much faster. So, why do we feel more and more pains as we grow older? And that's a big one. That's usually what kills our will, because remember, it's will that I feel like that ages us. So, you know how we just keep getting hurt over and over again? Let's say it's the same spot, something we just keep bumping into that same spot. And at first we're like, okay. Second one's like, God, again? Third one's like, come on, what are the chances? Fourth one's like, alright, this is ridiculous. Fifth one's like, God, alright, it's getting to me. Sixth one, ugh. And it just keeps eating at us because it keeps happening over and over again. We keep getting hurt in one way or another. That's the same thing as we age. As we age, we gain more consciousness and awareness for life and its scope and what we can do and the things that we have to do. And that's that program, the cookie cutter societal program I'm talking about. So we have to do these things. We have to do them by a certain time. And so essentially what we're doing is we're creating a particular lifestyle given a particular kind of consciousness, a particular size of consciousness. So as a kid, we don't have too many responsibilities. We just got to get up, remember to breathe, eat something, pee and poop it out, and then sleep again. So it's very simple. So the stuff that we do, it's not too stressful. And that's the word, stress. Mainly because our level of consciousness can handle our lifestyle at that moment. But as we grow older and we see there are more things, oh, there are more differences I have to deal with. Oh, I do have to worry about the kind of clothes I'm wearing because there is a program, trend at school that I have to adhere to, or else I'm going to get some crap for it. And that's more stress. I also have to play the right sports because if I play something different, I won't have friends, and I want friends. And so that'll be stressful for me. I have to listen to a particular kind of music because if I want to be around these people and they listen to this kind of music, I have to listen to that music. And if I don't, I won't have friends. And that's even more stress. And so we see these differences in life, you know? Bill and Sue had a kid at 24 right out of school, got a job at 22, and then they bought a mortgage after that, house, did all that, and so we're like, oh, well, I gotta stick with them because they may look down on me if I don't have a kid and a mortgage by that time, by 2 or 4 years after school, after college, because you have to go to college. So there's another stress. You have to go to college, you gotta get a certain GPA, gotta major in a certain program, and so we keep expanding that lifestyle, adding more and more stress. But here's the thing, if our consciousness can't keep up with that workload, the pressure builds on us. And so that's why we feel more and more pain, because we see more pain, yet we don't know how to deal with it because our consciousness isn't growing as fast as our lifestyle. So our lifestyle is getting bigger faster than we are. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be so stressful. It doesn't have to be so pressurized and compacted onto our shoulders to where we're hurting so much and we don't know how to deal with it. Because mainly we pile so much stuff in our lives that we don't know how to deal with our own health because we're so externalized in the things that we do. And that's why we just jump right to medicine, because we have so many things on our schedule aside from how does my body feel? How do I feel about my life? We don't care because we got to get stuff done. We got to go do something. We got to fill up that schedule because if we're not, then we're lazy bums, and there's another program. So you're lazy unless you're stressed out from a workload, because if you tell someone you're relaxed, you know, I'm kind of coasting right now. I'm feeling good about life. I don't have too much on my plate. We may get scared about telling other people that because of that programming. So we pile in more. We take another class, maybe a class we don't want to do. We try to get a raise, get more responsibility at our work. That's great if we want to handle that, but if we're doing it just for that programming, societal programming, it might not be the best thing for us because we keep trying to get more and more and more in life, and we're not really expanding ourselves to deal with that, to be able to deal with that. So I can heal myself in certain ways, like headaches, like muscle spasms, joint aches. Once I feel them, like a headache, for example, that's a common one. Everyone takes a pill for it, Advil or something, and they gotta wait for it to kick in. Then they have all these synthetic chemicals running through their body, and then they're gonna come down, and once that wears off and they flush it out of their system, the headache comes back, and then they take another pill, and you see the cycle going. When I get a headache, just walking down the street, and I'll get a headache, and I feel that, as soon as I feel that pinch, the first thing I do is I go right into that pain. I don't avoid it by taking something else. I go right into that pain and I release it, and it goes away in a quarter of a second. So that's how I heal myself. I go into the pain. I don't go away from the pain. I go into the pain and I release it like that. Instead of trying to push it away into the closet, I go into it and I release it. But here's the thing, I can't always do that if I have too many projects to finish, or people are constantly talking to me because they're taking my attention away from my headache. And so then it's much harder to go into the headache because I have to put my attention there, and then there are people talking to me, computers ringing because I need to send these emails and I need to get this project done, and my boss says I have to get it done by 5, and then I'm waiting for the weekend because I'm going on this vacation, and then I gotta plan all that stuff, and I gotta meet up with them, and I don't even know how I'm gonna get there. And so all that stuff's piling up, and really this is the thing that's killing me at the moment. And so that's why I don't do the things that other people do. That's why I try not to fill my schedule up so heavily, because I understand what I'm capable of. And if I try to do more than that, I won't be able to heal myself. And then I have to resort to synthetic medication. And who knows where that can lead to. That can even go up to cancer. That's how we get tumors. That's how we get heart disease. Our hearts are hurting. You know, it's not something external from us. Heart disease is something that it's negative stress. So yeah, negative can be bad. And so if we look at it negative, if we look at our lives negatively, we have an unhealthy heart because we don't know how to deal with our feelings. So that's the more spiritual, metaphysical side of illness. Cancers, tumors, because that's what cancer is. Cancer is rebellion. It's our cells saying, I disagree, I'm revolting, I don't like what's going on here. And then they flip out. Not all cancers, I mean, there are different ways you can get it, but let's just say the ones that just pop out of nowhere. So really all that's saying is I'm not in total harmony with my body. So something is wrong, and that's why I feel pains. If I feel pains in my muscles, that means I did something to my muscles, but I'm not willing to pay attention to it or really talk to it in the same way. So of course, I'm not going to heal in the same way. So that's what I mean by trying to live a bigger lifestyle than what our consciousness can handle. And that's why I try to keep I try to keep awareness of my consciousness, which I know sounds aware of my awareness. I know it sounds weird, but if I understand what that's capable of, and I understand my lifestyle, and they go hand in hand, they're the same size and with the same capabilities, I don't have to feel aging the same way. I can still feel like a kid. I can still move like a kid. I can still run like a kid with the same sort of energy and pop if I want to. But of course, if I don't feel that same sort of pop and motivation, it's not quite there. And then it hurts. You know, I get sore faster, quicker, and I pull this muscle much sooner than I normally would. But I'm just not taking care of myself the same way. So that's what I wanted to show with aging. And that's just the main theme. It just deals with consciousness. Of course, kids have smaller levels of consciousness, so they can leave this pain much sooner. And that's what, you know, kids, and they don't age. But as we're adults, you know, it's just not the same. Just can't do it. Is that really it? They just can't do it? So it's no, they don't want to do it. Kids want to do it, and elderly don't want to do it because, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. We've had enough. You know, zipping it back around, we keep getting pounded, and we keep getting these stresses. You know, something changes, and as we get older, the stakes get higher. You know, our friends start dying as we get older and older. I mean, as kids, we don't worry about those things. I mean, it's like, are we getting chocolate milk for the day? That's like what we worry about as kids. As adults, especially elderly, they're like, is my friend gonna die today? I've known them for 50 years. You know, that's so much more energy in that. And so of course it's going to hurt us so much more, and it's hard to deal with those things, and that's what pulls us down, rips us up. But that the other aspect to that is we don't have to feel bad, like I said, with not having the will, because essentially that's our will just getting beat down, and we're just like, I just need a rest. So that's the process of life and death. So now let's get big with it. not look at it just in one lifetime, and the whole point is to live for eternity, because it's all about willpower, and if our will just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, then we don't die. Which, sure, that's a great philosophy. It sounds great up here, but how often has that happened? It's pretty rare. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but we do want to break, and that's what duality is. Just like exercise, we beat ourselves up for a little bit of the day, and we want to break for a little bit of the day. A break, a relaxation period, a recovery period. So that's what we do when we live and die. So yes, I'm talking about reincarnation, going into that. When we live and die, we grow, we expand, and then we contract. So the same thing goes with life force and willpower. As we grow, our will gets bigger, and as we die, it gets smaller. Because when we have willpower, we're healthy. When we don't have willpower, we're unhealthy, or we feel less healthy, and it's harder to get out of bed, and it's harder to move around the same way we used to. But that's okay, because that's duality. We live in that. So yes, we go through multiple bodies. We pull matter into existence to have these bodies we live in. Great cars, great vessels. Thank me and the universe and my parents for providing me with this. The animals that gave me the food, because they let me live in this body and experience it the way I'm experiencing it. And eventually I'm going to give it to something else when I die. And that's when I get my break. My soul goes back, spreads back around, and then once I'm recouped, I come back in and I learn a new set of experiences in another life, in another body, in another circumstance, contributing to this evolving universe. So that's life and death. The other way. Life and death. So we pull matter into existence, and we experience life, and we go through these things, and then eventually we get too overwhelmed, and then we just want to stop, and we want to take a break, because we've done so much exercise in this life, and then it fizzles out, and then we say, all right, I'm ready again, I want to go back in. And so we go back in, and we learn what life's like in that time period. It's like a new game, because the rules change, but the players stay the same from an eternal sense. So that's life. And so we come back and we pop up as a kid, and we're like, things have changed since last time I was here. All right, let's see what these rules are about. Let's see what this life's about. And it could be worse, it could be better, depending on the time period and what changes we're making as humans, and energetic shifts that we're going through. So that's what life is. So aging, yeah, I made it sound bad at the beginning, but look at it from a big picture. Look at it from not just one and done, like programs in our society. And I won't name them because it might get offensive, but it doesn't have to be a one and done. We're living an 80-year body average, if we're lucky, compared to 13.7 billion-year-old universe. Pretty lopsided if you just throw out some numbers. Pretty lopsided. So let's get practical. Let's get real with this. This isn't our first time, and it's not our last time. So that's the good and bad side to aging. It does seem bad in this life. The good side is that look at it from a grander perspective. Look at it from a multiple life perspective. Reincarnation, learning these realities. And so death doesn't have to seem so dismal. And I'm hoping this helps in terms of the aging process, so we can start seeing these things on a daily basis. Like I said, we'll be able to self-medicate without the use of externalizing so many things, especially synthetic medication, because those are harder on the body, and that could actually age us even faster. But that's a whole nother topic, organic versus synthetic, and I'll probably cover that another time. So I thank you. If you like this, please subscribe. I'm also also offering online mentoring sessions, or just conversations. We don't have to look at it like mentoring. I just like talking to people, and if you find this stuff interesting, if you want to share some ideas, if you want to just talk about some stuff, or have any questions that you just you're hitting barriers, and we just gotta pop those bubbles and just break those barriers. That's what I enjoy doing. I love digging. So please leave a comment. I'm trying to build a website, a pretty standard, simple website, just so I can get in contact with people instead of just making this so behind the scenes in terms of getting in contact and sharing emails and all that. So yes, please let me know. Leave a comment. I think my email is also linked to the YouTube channel, so you can search for it there. So thank you once again. I hope you can take something away from this, and I look forward to hearing from you.